Radio. News, opinion, and a little irreverence from both sides of the 49th parallel. This is Americanuck Radio with Mike Phillip.
Welcome back to Americanuck Radio, everybody. And that sound that you just heard is Deplorable Canadians. We all remember Hillary Clinton talking about a basket of deplorables who were planning on voting for Donald Trump. Now, to me, that vote was symbolic. It was symbolic of wanting to get out from under the thumb of the Clintons and the Bushes and the Obama types. They were all really just Clintonistas, and your average Americans, notwithstanding New York, LA, the usual suspects, wanted out of that. Well, that phenomena is spreading to Canada, and I just want to let everybody know we are broadcasting live today from the Newcastle pub in Edmonton, Alberta. There is a Deplorable Canadians or Patriots party going on today. Big thanks to Peg in Edmonton. We're going to be hearing from her as to why she threw this together. Tina in Ottawa, beautiful lady, and we owe her a big thanks. Now listen to this. Kevin J. Johnston, big friend of the show, freedomreport.ca, was attacked this morning by Antifa.
Like really attacked.
Really attacked. We're not talking, they threw a bag of poo at him or something like that. No, he got attacked by 20 kids, and he slipped and went down, and they piled on him. He was able to get out, but his cameraman cannot feel his legs. They were kicking him and punching him in the spine, and he is unconscious in the hospital. Now,
19 years old.
19 years old. That's how good these people are. They decry violence. They want a better society. They're getting paid. They're getting Soros dollars to bring down Canadian society, and there's a lot of people that are very upset about it and worried about the future and direction of this country. We're going to be speaking to them today. There's a bunch of them here at the Newcastle pub. And listen, if you want to get your voice heard, if you were at one of these rallies in Vancouver or Calgary or Ottawa, the call-in line is 855-660-4261. Once again, 855-660-4261. Now, I just want to say this. Benito Mussolini, in his book, defined fascism as the marriage between business and government. All right? Corporate government. Corporations having laws altered to aid their bottom line under the rule and law of government. That is how one of the founders of fascism defined it. Now, this week we saw Donald Trump pull the United States of America out of the Paris Climate Accord. And the world is freaking out. They're going crazy over this. That idiot, Kathy Gifford, what is that her name? Kathy Lee? Griffin. That's it. Yeah, see, I don't even...
I refer to her as the Headless Horseman.
The Headless Horsewoman, yeah. So she puts out this picture of her holding a mock head of the president covered in, I can assume, ketchup. And now her career is going down in flames. What she wanted to do to Trump, she actually ended up doing to herself. And I applaud that because I've never liked that woman. Never. I've never had any use for that woman whatsoever. So now that her career is on the ropes, she's making all these BS apologies, and then she went and held a press conference where she doubled down on how stupid she is. And I got to say, she's never been funny.
We've got a caller.
We got a caller. Let's go over to the caller.
I don't see a name, but we'll just go to our caller.
Let's just take the call. Hit answer there, Craig.
There we are. You're
on the air. How you doing?
Good.
Hello, caller.
Hello.
What?
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How you
This sounds like Phil the Pissed Off Vet in New Mexico. What's going on, Phil?
It's Phil the Pissed Off Vet in New Mexico, and you know what? I got a real life story I want to talk to you guys about today.
All right. We were talking about the Paris Climate Accord in the U.S. dropping out, but if you're going to shift gears, I'm going to let you do it, and we'll go back to it. Go ahead and tell us what's going on, Phil.
Well, this may have something to do with the Paris Climate Accord because all this air pollution and stuff has made me crazy, and so I can't help myself. I got to talk about this, okay?
All right.
I was talking with an ex-biker, a former biker who actually lived to be a former biker, so I got to give him a little credit there. And he's a black guy, and he's a really smart guy, and we're having a conversation about life. And he started talking about white privilege.
White privilege, okay.
Yours or his?
Privilege. So I said, wait a second, buddy. Hold on. Let's back up here. White privilege. I was born in 1952 to a single mom, white. I have 5 brothers and sisters raised by a single mom, white. My single mom went to the welfare office and wanted to help get welfare to get a hand up because working in a restaurant back in the 50s and you're a single mom and, this is just the way it is. You're a bitch. You're a slut. Those were names that we were called. I was a bastard because that's just what society called me. Did I feel like or think I was a bastard? No. I was a human being. I don't know what the heck they were talking about. And so we started talking about this, and I said, basically I was raised by my grandmother because my mom was out making kids and working in a restaurant, doing whatever what she was doing. I don't know. I was a kid. And so anyway, we're at the welfare office. I'm sitting out in the car watching all the traffic and what's going on. My mom goes in, and she goes with her hand out, seeing if she can get a hand up. She's in there for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I watched in that time many fat black women going into this welfare office in fur coats, their old man driving Cadillacs, and they were coming out with a check and a big smile. My mom came back out an hour and a half later with nothing. Air in her hand, nothing. So I would like to know, with all these incredibly intelligent liberal morons out there, can you explain to me the white privilege, how it works? I know what it is. White privilege is a liberal, democratic, moronic catchphrase to make you feel bad about yourself. And don't be stupid, please. All white people, you are just human beings like everybody else. And we're not deplorables. Well, maybe I am. But anyway, get on with life. Move on. It's all good. Love y'all.
Phil, thanks for that story. That's great. And absolutely, we've only got 1 minute left to go here. But listen, Phil brings up a really good point. Okay? This is what he saw. He didn't experience any kind of special privilege living on the south side of Chicago, single mom. They struggled. And that is a lot of white people's experiences. That's a lot of black people, Asian. You know what? Can we just say people? Can we do that?
Well, there's always been class privilege.
Class privilege
whether
is another
you're
thing.
black, white, Irish, Italian, if you're in Kentucky working in the coal mines, you weren't very privileged.
Mike, Super Don, and Craig Owen Jenkins on Americanuck Radio at the Deplorable Canadians rally at the Newcastle Pub in Edmonton. We'll be back right after this.
Since
Syntec Global XFT is a breakthrough product trusted around the world for over 20 years. Syntec Global XFT will maximize engine life and fuel economy, maximize horsepower and performance, and minimize emissions. XFT packs an incredible amount of benefits into one small concentrated dose and comes with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. That's Syntec Global XFT. Put it to the test.
Head over to AmericanuckRadio.com now to get your extreme fuel treatment. That's AmericanuckRadio.com.
Welcome back, everybody. The call-in line is 855-660-4261. We want to hear from you. If you're with any of these million deplorable Canadian rallies going on across the country. And now, interestingly enough, we have protests going on in the United States as well. And, you know, we got Chantilly, Virginia. We've got this big march for resistance against Trump going on. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. There's a lot of forces coming together. Phil in New Mexico called in, and he talked about how he didn't have any white privilege growing up. During the break, Mike, you were telling a story. I want you to get into that on the air here. You were talking about something you saw Ben Shapiro talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, so there was one of his speeches that he was giving. I don't remember which university it was at, but somebody made a comment and he said, look, it would take me literally one question to know if you're a liberal or conservative. And he points to a guy and he's like, you, what are you? And the person said, well, I identify as gay. And he's like, okay, you're a liberal. He goes to the next one. He's like, what are you? And the person was like, I don't remember what they were saying, but it was like, I'm transsexual or I'm this, I'm that. And he'd say, okay, that's liberal. He goes to the next one. He says, what are you? And the guy said, well, I'm an American. He said, that's conservatives. Okay, what are you to the next one? And the guy's like, yeah, I work at McDonald's, or I think he said Burger King. He's like, yeah, you're a conservative. He said, very simply put, the liberals will identify based on their sexuality, based on their made-up gender, based on the group that they work with. Like, oh, yeah, one girl said she's a feminist.
So they're basing their identity on what social clique they fall into.
Yeah, based on their social description, as opposed
based on their understanding of what the Trump card is in their little hierarchy.
And they literally don't look at what they could provide to society. They don't look at what their talents are. They don't look at anything like that. They don't look at their nationality. I'm okay if somebody says, I'm a Chinese American or I'm a Chinese Canadian. I'm okay with that. You want to keep some of your heritage? That's fine. I mean, you can't give up your birthright. Yeah. But at least you're not saying, well, I'm gay, I'm straight, I'd have issues with somebody saying I'm a straight, white, heterosexual male. I'd be like, well, that still kind of makes you sound like a liberal. Whereas if a person... No. I understand that the liberals will hate him. They'll hang the guy. But the fact of the matter is he's still identifying based on something that he can't change, like his gender or sex, whether trannies like to hear that or not. And he's basing it on what he does in bed.
Well, it may be illegal to say that soon because we've got this new bill coming through where they want to make it illegal to misidentify somebody's gender or anything like that. But I'll tell you what, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. We were talking about Kathy Griffin and her picture of her holding a mock-up of Trump's severed head. And when the backlash hit, she immediately apologized because she started losing money almost immediately. CNN started losing contracts for advertising with Squatty Potty and ADT Home Security Services. So they didn't pull her from the New Year's bash that she usually hosts with Anderson Cooper right away. But once the money started falling away, and let me tell you this, CNN is not in a position where they can afford to lose advertisers right now. They're dying, so they had to get rid of Kathy Griffin. So after she apologized, she went and got a lawyer, and just like you were talking about, Mike, all of a sudden she's playing the I'm a woman, You know what I mean? It's like this she's getting stepped on because she's a woman. No, 6,999,999,999 women on the planet. That might be too high of a number. Did not put out a picture of themselves with Trump's severed head on that same day. It didn't happen. So let's listen to this blubbering idiot now trying to save her career.
I'm going to be honest. He broke me.
It's Trump's fault.
Yeah.
He broke.
That's some fake crying going on right there. Good job, Kathy Griffin. And I'll tell you what, she was never funny in the first place. She's one of these women that, she thinks that her brand of humor is talking about her menstrual cycle and things like that. She's just an all-around disgusting person, and actually it's more of a social commentary on America that she could get work in the first place. But let's go on listening to this moron trying to save her career.
And then I was like, no, this isn't right. It's just not right. And I apologized because that was the right thing to do, and I meant it. And then I saw the tide turning, and I saw what they were doing, and I went, oh, okay, they're trying to spin this, and they're making it about Barron. And
Yeah. Then my lawyer called me and said that there might be a way that we could salvage your career and turn this around where Trump's the bad guy because he's bullying her. She put out a picture of holding his severed head, and he said, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. That's bullying. How is that bullying? Have you ever been bullied, Craig?
No.
Nope. So you wouldn't know.
It's ISIS. It's ISIS-like in the way that she was doing it. It's like, ISIS ideology.
Well, that's the big joke, that it's cultural appropriation, right? So let's go on.
obviously that was never my intent. I would never want to hurt anyone, much less a child. But I started to see what was really happening.
BS.
And then it was a mob mentality pile-on. And so many people have expressed to me personally across the country at my shows, they're scared.
Yeah, people go into a comedy show to have a few drinks and laugh. They sit around talking about how scared they are for the future of the country. Listen, Kathy Griffin will get on whatever bandwagon, depending on who is around her at the time, and say anything. That's the kind of person that she is.
You notice?
Yeah, I don't know I don't know if I'm going to get arrested. I don't know. But I have to stand up.
In English, please, Kathy. That was the fakest damn crying I've ever heard in my... What were you going to say, Craig?
I was going to say, she referred to that the tide turned and the mob piled on her. It's kind of ironic because I think that's what she was trying to do with her demonstration with the head, was to try to get the mob mentality, hate Trump even more, and it kind of backfired. It's not so much fun when it's happening to you, is it?
Well, that's exactly it. And you know what? It's not just her. You've got these idiot liberal comedians all over the country that they think that they are exempt from the rule, okay? They think...
Of decency?
Well, see, there's this little list of rules that everybody has, right? Where this is politically correct. This is, I'm down with everybody else because I'm Bill Maher, or because I'm Kathy Lee Griffin, I can say whatever I want because, I'm down with Black Lives Matter. Well, I'll tell you what, they will turn on you. Look at this liberal professor down in the United States. They wanted to have black-only day on campus. He said, I'm going to work. But you know what? It was okay for him because he was always down with the whole Black Lives Matter deal. No, he wasn't. And they turned on him. And guess what? All you people trying to pander to these movements, it's never, ever going to be enough. There'll never be enough apologies. There'll never be enough money. And that is not what it's about. It's about power. It's about putting you in your place and making you feel small. Well, I'll tell you what. We need to be proud of what we are. I've never been more proud to be an American after Trump's speech, and I've never been more proud to be a Canadian at the same time when I see people mobilizing and getting together to say, you know what, I'm Canadian and I'm proud of it. So up yours. Mike, Super Don, Craig and Jenkins for the Newcastle Pub. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Americanuck Radio, everybody. At the beginning of the show, I said there was some drama going down with the Million Deplorable Canadians March in Ottawa. We've got Kevin J. Johnston. Kevin, what's going on over there?
Well, I'm in a hospital bed right now. I'm about to get my ear, the top of my ear, stitched back together. It was ripped into two pieces by the Antifa guys. But I can tell you this, Mike. It's crazy that there's 46 of them that took me on today, and that's the best they could do, is a partially ripped ear. However, 4 of them are in custody. One of them had a knife, one had a gun.
A gun? In Canada?
That's illegal.
Well, I don't know.
Was it registered?
Oh, probably not.
No, that's an important question. Is it a legal owned gun in Canada? I doubt it.
Well,
what is it? Was it a pistol?
Probably not. But I'll tell you what happened here is I'm in the hospital bed right now, and the detectives left only 5 minutes ago. They took my statement on the 4 guys they have in custody. The cops arrived quickly enough to get 4 of them into custody. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks with these guys. But what happened here is they beat him into a state of being passed out. He's in another room right now. Yes. Yep. Yeah, he passed out. They beat him into a very nasty submission. He's right now sedated in the other room.
We had heard that he had no feeling in his legs at one point. Is there any updates on that?
Well, that's the last. In his right leg, and he had no feeling in his face. Now, we do know that 2 of his teeth are broken.
Ooh, that don't feel good either.
No, I've broken teeth many times. It sucks, but
so
we're going to wait and hear what the doctor has to say.
Unreal. And so what is with these guys? I mean, I can't believe it. And you're out and about all the time. You're pretty public about what you do. So they were basically waiting to get their chance to overpower you with overwhelming numbers, and they were still too damn incompetent to do that, even when the odds were so great on their side.
Well, you'd figure that. Antifa's been watching what I do for quite some time. What I can say here is that if it's 46 against 1, I should be dead. And that just gives you an idea of how incompetent and useless these kids are. However, I did take a couple of flagpoles in the face, one in the head, one in the neck, and some girl who claims to be a mother of 5 and a teacher at an Ottawa school. That's what she claimed to be. She had one of those extendo police batons.
Baton,
yeah. Got me with that. Yeah, she hit me with that on the wrist. The officers took photos of the inflammation on the wrist.
A mom of 5 and a teacher is out there with a police baton picking fights. With journalists.
Anyway, they stole my wallet and they stole my camera. So I'm out camera and 240 in cash.
And man, oh man! And the cops, the guys that they caught, they weren't the ones that had the wallet and the camera.
One of the guys they have in custody right now knows who has the camera and know who has the wallet. That I made very clear in my police statement. He made it very clear to me that he's got them, or at least that he knows who's got them, and I'm not getting them back.
Kevin,
I called 911 the second I was able to maintain composure for a bit. I called 911, and as soon as I was on the phone with somebody at 911, I saw one of the clowns pull a gun, and that's when I yelled, "There's a gun! There's a gun!"
Jeez.
And the 12 squad cars were there in under 2 minutes.
So the cops were on Johnny on the spot. There was none of this, well, hey, let you fend for yourself stuff, eh?
It sounded like it was going there, honestly, until the gun came out. But listen, guys, the doctor's here, and she's going to get my ear patched up. So she says no phone calls in the hospital room. What time's the show over?
We're done in, this is the first hour. We've got an hour and a half left to go. If you want to call back in with an update, we'll keep an eye out for you on the Comrex stack, my friend.
I'll call you back. You got it, guys.
You're a great Canadian. We'll talk to you in a bit, Kevin.
You got it, boys. Thank you. Take care.
All right, take care. All right, so there it is.
There's a guy who loves his country, where you'll take a beating with the flagpole of your own country, in defense of your rights.
Well, and here's the other thing, too. Everybody thinks there's supposed to be no guns in Canada. Well, there are people all over the place with guns in Canada, I'm telling you right now. And these Antifa guys, they will sidestep the law because they think that they have some kind of moral authority. They think that they're inflicting violence for a better tomorrow. Think about that. Every single time you get people thinking that they have a moral high ground because they're working towards a utopia.
The ends justify the means.
By any means necessary. Yeah, it's always some utopia that they're working for. Meanwhile, they accuse us of using the same tactics, so they're justified. When I'm looking around here right now and I'm seeing Canadians that have shown up to voice and their displeasure with the current federal government or the provincial government, or both, I'd like to say, and there's no violence. They're not out hunting down Antifa people or Black Lives Matter because they don't care. And I'll tell you what else. They're also the same kind of people that will face that if it comes, just like Kevin J. Johnston, just like most normal people, but we don't go looking for it. And I'd like to say good on the Ottawa police for getting in there and stopping that situation before it turned into something worse. Mike, you've had interactions with Antifa in the past, have you?
Yeah, a few times at the universities, and even at Algonquin College in the west end of Ottawa. I would just be getting off the bus, and there would be a protest and stuff. And then there's a primary bus station right beside the college, like it's literally attached to the college. So I'd get off the bus, and one time I simply asked what they were protesting. And a bunch of the Antifa guys came over with their masks and stuff, and they said, hey, if you're planning to start some crap with us, we're going to kick your ass. And I was like, no, I'm simply wondering what you guys are protesting. Like, I just got off the bus. I have no idea what's going on here. I'm being surrounded by people. I just want to know what's going on. So right there, they thought that me asking what they're protesting was almost like I'm affronting or something, like I'm going to, try and start a fight with them. So they right away threatened.
So they're thugs.
They totally are. They totally thugs. They use fascist and socialist tactics in order to say that they're anti-fascist.
Well, and that's the definition of terrorism, is violence to achieve a political means, right?
Yep.
So we've got people here that want to give their opinion on what's going on in Canada and why they're here. Hey, Karen. Is it Karen? Come on over here. This is radio.
We got one of the spectators that has to put some input in.
This side over here, step over to the microphone. Put on that set of headphones. Take the chair of Craig Owen Jenkins here. We've got a deplorable Canadian that came here. We've got 2 minutes left, so you're going to have to make it quick for this segment. We've got a commercial break. Karen, tell us why you're here. Right up to the mic.
Oh, there's many issues. I'm here because I'm sick of my tax dollars going to other communities or other countries. When I see seniors, vets, single mothers, the natives all need help. They're not getting it. I am sick of seeing people commit crimes in our communities that should be deported.
Yep.
They're landed immigrants. And I'm sick of just all the stuff.
You know what?
Going on.
You mentioned...
I don't want my voice to be quashed or quelled, which is happening.
You mentioned the natives. Listen, the Human Rights Commission put out a report on the plight of Native children and how we need to help them. So the federal government paid out $707,000 in legal fees to study how we should help these kids. Now, how much of food and clothing would that money have bought them? They just pass around your money with their friends.
Exactly. And I have seen it over the years. I'm not stupid. I have worked within many social systems, homeless shelters.
Okay.
They aren't getting help.
Yeah.
They get no help from the government. They get help on donations.
They get swept under the rug.
Yes.
They get swept under the rug. And, we got to keep the ICE district clean. Right? We don't have homeless people in Canada. La, la, la. I hear the music. That means we have a break. You got one final thing to say.
I just am fighting for my children's rights, the rights of the future of Canadians. And I see that it's going to be a like Hitler.
Karen, you're beautiful. We love you. Mike, Super Don, and Craig Owen Jenkins on Americanuck Radio. We'll be back with more Deplorable Canadians right after this.
Syntec Global XFT is a breakthrough product trusted around the world for over 20 years. Syntec Global XFT will maximize engine life and fuel economy, maximize horsepower and performance, and minimize emissions. XFT packs an incredible amount of benefits into one small concentrated dose and comes with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. That's Syntec Global XFT. Put it to the test.
Head over to AmericanuckRadio.com now to get your extreme fuel treatment. That's AmericanuckRadio.com.
Welcome back, everybody. This is your host, Mike Phillip. We've got Professor Mike. We've got Super Don. We've got Craig Owen Jenkins. We are live at the Newcastle Pub in Edmonton, Alberta for the Canadian Deplorables Party. And you are listening to
Americanuck Radio
on the Genesis Communications Network. Thanks a lot, Deplorables. You guys are awesome. I love you. Now, before the break, actually a little while ago, before Kevin J. Johnston called in to tell us how him and his cameraman were treated by a bunch of wimps and a mother of five and teacher. We were talking about Kathy Griffin destroying her career, trying to be funny by getting on a bandwagon, and now Bill Maher has done the same thing. Listen to this, and just see if you can pick out the spot where Bill Maher, Mr. Politically Correct, got himself in trouble now.
I got to get to Nebraska more.
You're welcome. We'd love to have you work in the fields with us.
Work in the field?
That's part of that.
Senator, I'm a house n***.
No, it's a joke.
So you heard the sound of the letter N and then a beep.
I wonder what that was. Necrophiliac?
Yeah, that was got to be it. Yeah, he's a house necrophiliac. So these liberals, they think that because they are down with Black Lives Matter, they are down with cultural appropriation issues, political correctness, LGBT. No, guess what? They're going to eat their own. They go after each other in the end. Well, actually, in the beginning, because they're easier to go after than people that oppose them.
That's who they go after first.
Yeah, exactly.
See, they're taught this raging hate for all authority, but who do they look up to as authority? Oh, my immediate professor who taught me all this stuff.
Exactly. Now, I was so proud of President Trump for dropping out of the Paris Climate Accord. It was like a jump off the couch, proud to be an Americanuck moment for me.
That's because you're a hater.
You're getting on my nerves.
So we're getting out.
President Trump portrayed his decision to abandon the Paris Climate Agreement as a rescue mission for the American
Canadian
worker,
now.
not an abdication of U.S. leadership on green technology or efforts to slow global warming.
The Paris Climate Accord is simply the latest example of Washington entering into an agreement that disadvantages the United States.
It disadvantages any country that's on board with it unless you are China or India or a super polluter, okay? If you're a super polluter, you're okay in the Paris Climate Accord. Now, that clip I played, that was from actual Canadian media. This is what I woke up to. I sent it over to Don, and big thanks to Super Don. He's the best producer in the world. He sends me these clips back, all air ready, and that's why we have them. So let's go on with how disgusted the rest of the world is that the United States will no longer bow its knee to your BS globalist agenda of wealth transfer and disempowerment. Go on, Mr. President.
The president said the voluntary pact placed too many restrictions on greenhouse gas emissions and committed U.S. tax dollars to help less developed nations reduce pollution.
I was elected to represent the citizens of Pittsburgh, not Paris.
My God, would I love to hear a Canadian politician say, I am here for the people of Alberta and not some other place, and not to give transfer payments to Quebec. The province of Alberta sends $250 billion to the province of Quebec, and guess what? They hate us.
Well, I mean, you can close down your coal-fired power plants when you're getting money from somebody else.
Well, that's it. You can afford to go green when you're on the dole. And it's really that simple. Let's go on with this here.
Mr. Trump has called global warming a hoax.
A lot of it's a hoax. It's a hoax.
Though he said nothing about the science of climate change in the Rose Garden.
Why would he say anything about the science of climate change when he previously said it was a hoax? That doesn't even make sense. I mean, listen, here's the thing. There could be some warming going on, but I don't think that humans have a lot to do with it. And I'll give you one example. Geothermal venting. We have no idea how many volcanoes sit at the bottom of the ocean. We don't have them mapped. We have no clue how many they are. In fact, now scientists are thinking that the El Nino effect is caused by a ring of volcanoes around New Zealand and in that area. And the temperature of the ocean has a great deal to do with the climate or temperature. That's what they say. Oh, there's a big difference between climate and temperature, you know. And Craig, weren't you saying this morning NASA is getting into... NASA scientists are saying that the Arctic ice...
They grew.
Yeah.
This last year. See, quite often you'll hear the other side say, NASA says, you know, the sky's falling and all that. Well, they just released a study that's recent where this last year, the ice caps grew. Greenland, they grew by 300,000 square miles. So shortly after Trump has announced his getting out of the Paris Climate Accord, you're starting to see real scientists have that bravery to step forward and, you know, try to put a true story to the world's climate.
Can I just say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
There's a big problem that people keep confusing, okay? They keep, kind of like Mike and I, we discussed this on the Dr. Glidden show, we discussed the difference between AIDS and HIV, how people get them confused. Well, people keep confusing climate change and global warming, and the reason why they're using the term climate change more and more is because global warming, man-made global warming, has been disproven time and time again. So over time, you'll notice that they keep using the word climate change. Nobody can disprove climate change because we have had ice age. We do have, like you said, there's all kinds of different temperature changes that can happen.
Yeah, because if you say climate change, then it doesn't matter what happens. The climate changes and boom, it's our fault and we need taxes.
You mean the weather isn't static and consistent every day, all the time?
Yeah, and I mean... And
see, you're a denier, Mike.
I deny plenty of things.
You're a filthy kafir and a denier. That's your biggest problem. Let's go on with this story.
Robert Iger, chairman of Disney, and Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla, announced their resignations from the president's Business Advisory Council to protest the Paris withdrawal. Said Musk on Twitter, "Climate change is real. Leaving Paris is not good for America or the world."
Okay, so Elon Musk gets huge money and subsidies and grants, and his company is still losing money. And not only that, but who cares what the guy from Disney isn't going to be on that? I mean, Disney is... What the hell is that? Okay, on Business Advisory Council.
Well, he's the animation advisor.
Yeah, okay, right. We've got Pixar.
They hide sexual images inside Disney movies all the time, and all the Disney princesses have oversized exposed breasts. I mean,
well, we're not going to get into that, okay?
That's Disney.
Fair enough, introducing kids to sex. But listen, here's the thing. When Donald Trump announced that the United States was leaving the Paris Climate Accord, the stocks went up. That tells me that the people that bet on the money believed that this was going to be better for the economy. And actually, Scott Adams over at Dilbert.com did a really great article on it, and I agree with him 100%. Scott, if you're listening, call us up. Let's go on with this story now.
Former President Obama, who helped seal the climate deal in Paris 2 years ago, did not explicitly name Mr. Trump, but in a statement sent during Mr. Trump's announcement said, "Even in the absence of American leadership, even as this administration joins a small handful of nations that reject the future, I'm confident that our states, cities, and businesses will step up."
That's Obama reinserting his nose back into politics, trying to whip up state governments and municipal governments into actively fighting the president. Now, that could be construed as treason. I mean, who the hell is this guy? It wasn't just that he wasn't running because he'd served 2 terms. But he's got to keep sticking his nose in. And he wants to act like he's a friend of the common man. Meanwhile, he just bought a house for $4.1 million in Washington, D.C. Does that sound like the common man to you? Go ahead, Craig.
Well, and getting back to Musk saying, well, I'm out. Could it be perhaps he just heard the doors slamming on the purse to the government subsidies for building his cars?
Yeah, so I tell you what he did. He went to his money manager and he said, dump it into stocks here, here, and here.
Yeah, put all that money into coal for me.
Yeah,
Don't tell anybody.
Most likely. I hear the music, and that means we're at the end of the first hour of Americanuck Radio, coming at you live from the Newcastle Pub.
And we got Linda wants to get up and say a word, too.
Linda's going to get up and say a word right after this hard break. Deplorable Linda, stick around. We'll be right back.
Americanuck Radio.
News, opinion, and a little irreverence from both sides of the 49th parallel. This is Americanuck Radio with Mike Phillip.
Welcome back, everybody. We are live. This is your host, Mike Phillip, coming at you live from Western Canada. Beautiful place. Got my good buddy, Craig Owen Jenkins, singer, songwriter. He's wrote a song, by the way, called Deplorable Me. We're going to be playing that on the show, and I identify with it heavily. But listen, we've got the most deplorable lady in Canada. Her name is Linda. Linda, why are you so deplorable? She's froze right up. What, hey, why are you here? Why are you upset with the direction of the country, and what would you like to say to everybody as a Canadian right now?
There is so much to say. It's just hard to choose just one or two things.
I hear you.
I live in an area just off the ice district, and when I heard the other lady speaking about how they cleaned up the ice district, I said, yeah, sure, they're all in my neighborhood now. They're picking through my garbage, they're trying to break into cars and everything. They're just everywhere. They're trying to sleep in our foyer in our apartment buildings. What do we do? Why isn't our city helping these folks?
Well, and here's the thing: our employment situation is so bad. When the oil patch shuts down in Alberta, there's a lot of jobless people. People lose their homes, and a lot of these homeless people, they're a pain in the ass to be sure, but it's not their fault. A lot of them, there's mental illness, there's blood sugar problems, there's lack of employment. It's not their fault, but you're right. They sweep them out of the ice district because, and by the way, that ice district is mostly a playground for people that can afford it, or people that have a job where the company pays for tickets to Oiler games or concerts or things like that. But it's not affordable for most Albertans if you've lost your job because the provincial government put in a carbon tax, so the drilling companies started drilling for Canadian gas and oil. And Neil Young likes to fly around and talk about how bad we are because of our oil sands. Well, I'll tell you what, we are the cleanest energy producing patch of dirt on the planet. And boom. So they want to blame people. Well, you lost your job? Well, it's your fault because you should have worked harder. No, that's not what happened. So you're having problems. You've seen an uptick in this in your neighborhood since they put in the ice district.
Definitely, yes.
Because they don't care that it's your problem now, just as long as people going to an Oiler game don't have to see a bunch of dirty bums hanging around, is their attitude, right?
Yes, that's true.
Well, it's a sad situation. What else is on your mind, Linda?
Well, I work in a post office, and I have noticed that with the increase of this online shopping, has closed down a few businesses in the area, and I don't think that's right. That's sending money out of our country, and that's lowering our economy. Our money should be spent here, not sent away. And our products that we sell here in Canada are better quality than what they're getting in the mail, and they're sending them back because they're not what they expected. Why?
Well, listen, I'm going to bring this back to regulation and taxation, okay? Brick and mortar stores are going to die. And not only that, but Canada Post has put itself in a situation where FedEx or UPS or one of these guys is more competitive because they're U.S.-based companies and they can afford to deliver cheaper because Canada Post made a bunch of deals and pensions and contracts that they can't keep up with. Mm-hmm. And so they're dying. They're a dying business model. And you think about it, you've got Amazon.com. You've got all these different online places where you can buy stuff, eBay. They don't have a physical store and storefront where they're paying rent or they're paying property taxes. They just have a warehouse full of products. So it's a situation where brick and mortar stores are going to die, and that's going to result in less employment, thus adding to the problem that you just alluded to with homelessness. And you can't blame people for going and getting a better deal on the products that they order. See, so, I mean, the government wants to say, you need me in your life, otherwise everything's going to fall apart, the sun won't come up in the morning. But the fact is, they're getting in the way of business, and they're making it so that Canadian companies and businesses like Canada Post can't compete with outside companies. Would you agree with that statement?
Oh, yes, I do. And all it does is create a vicious circle.
It does. And, the Canadian economy is circling the drain. Like I said, with this Paris Climate Accord, I predict that the Canadian dollar is going to slide down to 50 cents U.S. I just put $50 U.S. into a currency converter to Canadian dollars the other day. You know what it came up as? $67. We're in big trouble. I mean, that's good for foreign investors until they see our corporate tax rate, and then they're going to have to juggle that in. And then they have to juggle in our labor laws. Then they have to juggle in men get maternity leave and things like that. And eventually they're going to look at all of the regulations, taxation, and they're going to balance it out with the weak Canadian dollar. And we are hemorrhaging jobs. Canada needs employment. And I tell you what, we should have no reason whatsoever for anybody to go unemployed and hungry in this country. We have everything we need right in the Dominion of Canada. But government gets in the way. And I'll tell you what, British Columbia, they're looking at a coalition government between the Green Party and the NDP right now. And that is going to be a lesson in pain that they will not soon forget. I was with a friend the other day, and he was talking to his mother in Vancouver. And she was going on and on. This is a little while ago before Trump got elected, actually. And she was going off about Donald Trump. Oh, my God, how far have we come with gay rights and women's issues and blah, blah, blah. Donald Trump. Grr, she was mad. Hey, she's so mad at Donald Trump down there in Vancouver. And then, just like on a dime, she switched her tone and she goes, don't move back here from Alberta. Nobody can afford to live. We can't afford food. People are losing their houses. There's no jobs. I tell you what, lady, Donald Trump ain't your problem. Christy Clark is your problem. The Liberal Party is your problem. The NDP is your problem. Justin Trudeau and the Canadian federal government are your problem. We are being starved out of existence in this great country, and that's why I'm so proud that you took the time to come down here and voice your opinion. Linda, I salute you. No. Thank you very much for coming on the show. Is there anything you'd like to conclude with?
Not yet. You've covered a lot of what I've had in my thoughts. And
good.
And I'm here to get even more information from my friends here.
Well, we're going to be sticking around a little bit after this, and you'll get to find out what I'm like after a few drinks. So if anybody wants to see Mike Phillip with a little bit of alcohol in him, come on down to the Newcastle Pub on 50th Street in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
Thank you, Mike.
Absolutely. You take care of yourself, Linda, and just pass those cans back on over to Craig Owen Jenkins there. Now, I promised everybody that we have a song that Mr. Craig Owen Jenkins wrote for this day. It's called Deplorable Me. How much time have we got left here? We got time enough for the song?
Nah, let's do it in the next segment.
Let's do it in the next segment. All right, let's look for the next segment with that. Now, Craig, when you sat down to write this song, what went through your mind? You called it Deplorable Me. What was the reason for that?
Well, I just... it was kind of based on the Trump announcement of getting out of the Paris Accord, and you know, where that whole thing where, you know, he's was voted in to look after Pittsburgh and not Paris, and that kind of thinking. And I just thought, you know, that kind of sums it all up, and the whole, you know, deplorable theme. And of course, we had gotten word that the deplorable march was happening here in Canada on this weekend. So I just thought, I'm going to write a song about that and just try to show people what I think.
Well, you're going to get to hear what real Canadians think about the situation up here. Mike Phillip, Professor Mike, Super Don, Craig Owen Jenkins on Americanuck Radio. We'll be back right after this.
Syntec Global XFT is a breakthrough product trusted around the world for over 20 years. Syntec Global XFT will maximize engine life and fuel economy, maximize horsepower and performance, and minimize emissions. XFT packs an incredible amount of benefits into one small concentrated dose and comes with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. That's Syntec Global XFT. Put it to the test.
Head over to Americanuckradio.com now to get your extreme fuel treatment. That's Americanuckradio.com.
Welcome back to Americanuck Radio, everybody. As I promised, Mr. Craig Owen Jenkins has wrote a song called Deplorable Me. And I got to tell you, Craig is the Neil Young of the right.
Keep on rocking in the free world. You ever notice the Canadians will get this, that Neil Young and Preston Manning are the same voice? Keep on rocking in the Reform Party.
I didn't notice, but I'm going to pay attention now. Preston Manning's probably dead.
No,
is he still around?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no wonder we're in such good shape. Everybody, Deplorable Me by Craig Owen Jenkins.
All the great lies are falling. Hear the roar of this quiet man. Backs against the wall. Better decide it's time to make a stand. They treat me like I'm a peasant. They, the all-knowing elite, carbon tax my existence. Pay Gore and he'll change the sun. Yeah, just pay the man and he'll change the sun. Well, I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees still free. Yeah, I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. Deplorable me. Deplorable me. Deplorable is what we're called as we march towards sanity, armed with the truth and what is right. Common man against tyranny. A common man versus vanity. Well, I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. I've been kicked around by global elite, but hey, I'm still free. Yeah, I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. I've been kicked around by global elites, but hey, I'm still free, and I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. Deplorable me. Deplorable me. Deplorable me.
Good job, Mr. Craig Owen Jenkins, on that song. I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. That's a powerful statement. A lot of people feel the same way, and you know what? We're getting pushed into that situation. I'm getting multiple messages on Twitter from people that are listening to the show. Canadian Sewer Rat out in BC. You might not be with us on the ground physically, but you are with us in spirit. I'll tell you what, the spirit of 1776, the spirit of Jackson, Jefferson, Louis Riel, the rebels, Tom Paine, all these great men that stood up to the powers that be that were oppressing their lives. That spirit lives today. It's alive and well in me. It's alive and well in guys like Alex Jones, guys like Roger Stone, guys like Craig Owen Jenkins, and that is why we are here. Jessica, get over here. Deplorable Jessica has a few things that she wants to say. She's cute as a button. You can't see her, but I'm telling you right now. Deplorable Jessica, why are you here, and what would you like to say to the rest of the world as a Canadian? Oh, she's got notes. She's ready. She's ready to go. Get right up to the mic, Jessica.
Right on it.
Right on it. There
Okay.
you go. No tongue.
I'll try not to.
All right. There you go.
Okay. Just mainly because I want my kids to be safe,
Yep.
whether in school or in public, because as you know, at the West Edmonton Mall, there were 3 girls that were sexually assaulted.
Yep.
And the media did cover it for a little bit, but then I guess gag orders.
You're talking about there was a Syrian migrant that was running around groping girls at the water park at West Edmonton Mall?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Go on.
And then there's also been other cases.
Yep.
Whereas out, where was that, New Brunswick? It was on the East Coast, where girls were, again, groped in school. And the rebel media actually covered that.
As they do.
And...
Go on.
I hate public speaking.
That's okay. Get right up to the mic, Jessica. Don't be shy.
And yeah, so then parents were saying that they were being bullied by the school officials and by the RCMP to not mention it.
Well, in the case that you mentioned there, these were guys that were in their late teens, 18, 20 years old, that were put in with a bunch of 14-year-olds. And there was a young girl that was assaulted, and they were basically disrupting class, speaking in Arabic, doing things that are unacceptable in a orderly society. And the school board and the people around them basically sided with the immigrants or the refugees and not our own local people. Now, listen, I don't have a problem with immigrants, and I don't have a problem with refugees whatsoever. I've lived amongst Sikhs my whole life. I've got friends that are Muslims. To be quite honest, I've got a friend on Twitter here. Outvote liberals. The guy's a Muslim, hardcore conservative. He wants Canada to be a safe place, just like you mentioned, for your kids, for him, for his family. He doesn't want to see what happened to all these other countries where ISIS is taking over and whatnot. They don't want to see that happen. Now, whether or not ISIS is being funded by NATO and all these other things, we're not going to go there because that's happening. Okay, the United States has a shadow government that is actually funding these guys to overthrow stable regimes like Iraq, Syria. We don't want that to happen here. Let's stand up for ourselves, Canada. Jessica, thanks for coming on the show. This is Americanuck Radio with Mike Phillip, Craig Owen Jenkins, Professor Mike, and Super Don. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Americanuck Radio, everybody. We've got some calls on the line here. Right-wing rebels, stay where you are. We want to hear from you. Let's go over to Dave in Maryland. Dave, what's going on? What's on your mind? What do you got to say?
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Mike. This is Dave, Germantown Runner on Twitter.
Yeah, I know exactly who you are, my friend. So what do you think of our little deplorable movement up here in Canada?
I'm loving it. Let me tell you what, you're Canadian, you're American brothers and sisters. We're doing everything we can to support you guys and to help you make Canada great again, for sure.
Absolutely. You know what? There's no reason that the whole North American continent can't be the best place on earth to live, and I'm including Mexico in that. But they need to stop leaving Mexico, and they need to rise up and have their own little 1776 and kick these jerks out of their country. We need to do the same thing here. There's no reason with the resources that we have on the North American continent that anybody should be hurting whatsoever. And you know what? I think that we're coming to that time because people have had it. Are you seeing the same thing in the D.C. area? Like you're in Maryland. I'm assuming you live near the swamp. Is this true?
The swamp, if we get enough rain, every once in a while, leaches into where I live. That's how close I am. I'm about 45 minutes away. And speaking of which, I went down to D.C. today to participate in a pro-Trump rally, a pro-leaving the Paris Treaty Accord.
Nice.
The environmental canard. And there was a huge group outside of the White House. Huge. And we were all there with our Make America Great Again hats on, our flags, our Don't Tread on Me flags. The Tea Party was there. And I'm telling you what, as long as you stand up, it seems like it's almost undoable, like a task that can't be won. But let me tell you, these Antifa people, these globalists, these liberals, they are spineless. They are all bark. They're no bite. If you push back, and I don't mean literally, although sometimes you have to defend yourself against these creeps. If you push back,
do what you got to do.
They go away.
Well, I think they get a lot of the power from that whole thing. That, they're strong because nobody's saying, hey, that's enough of this. Like I got an opinion too, and it's not the same as yours. All of a sudden,
right. I'm reading your mind, and you're reading my mind. That's exactly what happens. I'm telling you, it works.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And listen, I'm an Americanuck, and I've never been prouder of my president. When I heard Donald Trump give that speech on leaving the Paris Climate Accord, when he said, I was elected to represent the people of Pittsburgh, not Paris. I mean, why is that a moment when we got to jump off the couch and cheer? That should be common sense to everybody, but that's a good reflection on how bad the situation's gotten. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I personally jumped up out of my chair and cheered, and I'm sure that there were millions. Let's see, about 62.9 million people.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it.
So let me tell you what, we are standing behind you guys. We're following the Ottawa Deplorables March today. By the way, there was some violence.
Yep,
and people were there, and they were beating up some Canadian deplorables.
Yeah, my good friend Kevin J. Johnston, I tell you what, they did minimal damage, and there was like 42 of them on him, and they couldn't even get the guy down at that. But they did actually do some damage to his cameraman. He is in the hospital, and we don't know the status of that young man yet. Our thoughts and prayers are with him, definitely. But, Dave, you know what? We love our neighbors to the south. I have family in Columbus, Ohio, Milford, suburb of Cincinnati. I've got a cousin in the Air Force. I've got an uncle that was a United States Marine, and he is in Arlington National Cemetery. So when I think of the United States of America, my heart fills with pride. And I tell you what, it does about Canada too. And she's in rough shape, but a small, dedicated minority has always made a difference. The majority hasn't. It was the same thing in the Revolutionary War when 1% fought the bloody British back to the sea. And when you hear that rattlesnake on the Gadsden flag, you hear that rattling, you better watch out because you're walking in some bad territory. And that's what's happening with the American people right now. And that is what this Trump revolution is all about. Dave, have you got anything to close before we go to the right-wing rebel?
Amen, my brother from another mother.
I love it. Dave, thanks so much for calling the show. We'll love to hear from you anytime. Let's go over to the right-wing rebel in Calgary, Alberta. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing excellent. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing good. It's really good to hear from you. So you're down in Calgary. Were you attending any of the events down there? What was going on?
Yeah, I was attending the event there at City Hall, so ended up periscoping and capturing a bunch of video for it. So it was definitely an intense moment. Right.
So I see you're a fellow cowboy hat guy from your avatar on Twitter here.
You know it.
Absolutely. And you had mentioned, I was watching your Twitter feed during the show. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, me and this guy have spoken on Twitter a few times. We've never heard each other's, well, he's heard my voice, but I've never heard his, so it's a real honor to talk to you. But you were speaking with some of the guys with Soldiers of Odin. We've all heard of the Soldiers of Odin. And how many of them are running around down there?
You know, there was a bunch of different groups. Like, there was the 3% Alberta. There was about, I'll say, 10 to 15 guys from Odin.
Yeah.
And Guardians of Alberta was also there.
So, Guardians of Alberta, that's a new one to me. I haven't even heard of that.
Yeah, I found them on Facebook there last night. So, you know, it's great to hear that a lot of these groups are forming and coming out to these events. And, you know, just makes me, you know, proud to be a Canadian to see a lot of this.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm really proud to know that there are more Canadians out there like you. Now, do you mind me mentioning the fact that you are a Muslim on here?
No, don't. Well, you just did.
I just did. Listen, everybody, this man is a Muslim, and I count him as my friend, and he wants to see Canada great again. You were going to say something, Craig. Go ahead. No. All right. So so listen. You obviously are a practitioner of Islam. What do you hear amongst your circles of people about this whole thing with mass immigration, with what's going on with the Canadian economy? What are you hearing from your fellow practitioners of your faith?
Well, you have a bunch of mixed feelings from a bunch of different people. Like a lot of people, they say, you know, especially after 9/11 happened, they're like saying, you know, these people in America, Canada, they look down on us. They really look down on us, and they've always felt threatened. But you also have another group of people that have escaped the tyranny of places like Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, you know, so they know what life is like out there, and they don't want these people here. So you'll get mixed emotions and mixed feelings from a bunch of different people there.
Well, and not only that, but okay, so the Liberals, they brought out this M103, this motion where nobody's allowed to say anything bad about Islam. And I mean, I think it's probably pretty clear to you guys that the federal government doesn't give a damn about you. And I'm guessing that you guys don't really want that kind of attention and endorsement. Would I be correct in that assumption?
Yeah, I mean, like, when I look at it from my standpoint, I don't want special treatment for my religion. You know, every religion, if you want to go like the M103 route, make it equal for all religions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, man, I'm proud to say that you might be a Muslim and I might be a Christian, but you're my brother, you're a fellow Canadian. Can we just say that?
Absolutely, man, absolutely. You know, we have the same belief system. We're fighting for the same cause. You know, we're seeing everything what's happening in Europe with Germany, Paris, the UK, and, you know, the Western nation like Canada and America, that's next for a lot of this stuff. And we're fighting to stop that from happening.
So you're fighting that within your own community, though, right? Is that what you're saying?
I've distanced myself from the community because, you know...
We got to wrap it up. I hear the music. Put a bow on it real quick.
Yeah, you know, I just want to distance myself from the community and go on my own beliefs for this.
Be a Canadian. You know what? We appreciate you. Thanks for calling the show. Appreciate it so much. We're in for a commercial break. We'll be back with more Americanuck Radio and Deplorable Canadians after this.
Syntec Global XFT is a breakthrough product trusted around the world for over 20 years. Syntec Global XFT will maximize engine life and fuel economy, maximize horsepower and performance, and minimize emissions. XFT packs an incredible amount of benefits into one small concentrated dose and comes with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. That's Syntec Global XFT. Put it to the test.
Head over to Americanuckradio.com now to get your extreme fuel treatment. That's Americanuckradio.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the final segment of Americanuck Radio. This is your host, Mike Phillip, and I'd like to give a big thank you to the Newcastle Pub for allowing us to come down here and broadcast live today. Now, we've got a lady that is the organizer of the Million Deplorable Canadians Patriot Party here at the Newcastle Pub. Her name is Peg, and I'll tell you what, she's a fine example of a real Canadian because she's actually doing things instead of staying home and bitching on Facebook or Twitter or complaining. No, she reached out to her community and she said, let's get together and talk about what we can do to make Canada great again. Peg, thanks for joining us over here. So what made you decide to do this? You didn't have to. You could be at home working in your garden or playing with a puppy somewhere. Why did you do this?
Well, first, Mike, I'd like to thank you and Americanuck Radio for being here, and I'd like to thank Newcastle Pub for allowing us to be here. But I took this up because I wasn't going to have no major event with the Ottawa event in Edmonton because it had been moved to Calgary.
Right.
So I'm tired of hearing all the excuses I've heard by other people in Canada that say, I don't have the time or it's not affecting me. It is affecting them. They're just not awake enough to see that it's affecting
Well, not only that, but I'll be damned if Calgary and Ottawa are going to do something and Edmonton is not. There's that too, right?
Exactly. And besides, there's always competition between Edmonton and Calgary. So.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I feel sorry for them. Their hockey team sucks, but ours got knocked out too, so let's not get too much into hockey. So what do you specifically see going on in Canadian society today that is troubling you, that you'd like to change course on?
Oh, there's really way too much.
It's a loaded question.
Yes,
I know. Pick one.
The fact that Canadians are not being looked after, that our tax dollars are going overseas, they're going to terrorist organizations.
Quebec.
Not just Quebec, but Hamas and various others. And Canadians aren't getting any of that. In fact, what we get is our taxes raised.
Yep.
And taxes on taxes.
Yeah.
Which is totally illegal, but guess what? Government can do it. So, yeah, so that's kind of the biggest issue that I have.
Yep. Well, it's we're being starved out of existence. We're being pushed into a corner where there's going to come a day when the ends don't, the means aren't there.
Yep.
It's just not there. And I'll tell you what, we had Linda over here earlier talking about the increase in homelessness that she's seen.
Yes.
Well, for a lot of Canadians, they've already seen that point.
Yes.
Where they couldn't bring it in enough to live in our society. And for our American listeners, Canada is crazy expensive to live in. But go ahead, Peg.
Yes, I have a friend who I just found out that she is like a quarter of an inch away from living in her car. So that's how bad it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and listen, where we live in Alberta, this was the most prosperous part of Canada for as long as I can remember. I mean, there was so many. When I was a kid and I worked on the drilling rigs, if I got in trouble for something on a rig, I could just walk down the road and jump on another one. There was so many jobs. I mean, and, maybe we took advantage of that fact a little bit too much. But my point is, this was a place where a guy with a grade 9 education could go and put $10,000 a month in his pocket. Okay, that's what I remember growing up in Alberta.
Exactly, and it's not there anymore. And with our provincial government and our federal government trying to phase out the biggest resource Alberta has on behalf of Canada, that is, in my opinion, pathetic.
It's bad.
Yeah, leave us
absolutely.
alone.
Leave us alone. Peg, thank you so much for everything that you do. Let's get Dirty Larry. Let's get Dirty Larry, Dirty Deplorable Larry. We want you to come over here. I'm trying to get to everybody. We've only got one segment left. Thank you very much, Peg. You're awesome. And Larry, come on over. Throw those headphones on, get up in front of the microphone, and talk about the country that you love and why you are here today. Everybody, Dirty Larry. He's Canadian. He's deplorable. Go, Larry.
Thanks, Mike, for being here, and I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm honored.
I want to thank Newcastle Pub for allowing us to be here, too.
Yep.
But the biggest reason I am here is because of what is going on in Canada. It is absolutely sickening. We were once a great nation.
Unacceptable.
Totally unacceptable. We have a government that likes to wear pink socks and take selfies.
Yeah. What an embarrassment, those pictures from the G7.
It was an absolutely embarrassment. This man continually embarrasses the Canadian society.
Every time he opens his mouth.
Oh, you got that right.
Who the hell says we need to go back to sunny ways?
Oh, exactly.
Like every time this guy talks, I'm like, you know what? That's not what a Canadian sounds like to me.
No,
not
at all.
Well, I mean, some of them, right? But certainly not in charge. You know what I mean?
Well, exactly. And, like with his aspect of bringing in 300,000 refugees and fast-tracking them to the election and everything, and let's take a look at the terrorism that's going on around the world.
Yeah.
If we go just 10% of the 300,000 that were brought in, we have 30,000 terrorists now sitting in Canada.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, that's just totally unacceptable to me. Our forefathers built and raised this great nation for this person to totally destroy it. I'm sorry, that doesn't fly.
Well, and people talk about white privilege. How about if you were the son of a former prime minister, which incidentally, a very good, one of the biggest reasons that we are fiscally and fiduciarily in the situation we are now, not a lot of people know this, but Pierre Elliott Trudeau, back in the 70s, took the power from the Bank of Canada to issue interest-free loans to the provinces, and that is how we built our infrastructure after World War II. He took that and gave that power to foreign banking interests. Therefore, every single dollar that is loaned to the provinces or printed in Canada, just like the situation with the Federal Reserve in the United States of America, is owed out on, so we can mathematically never get out of debt. But I'll tell you what, when I hear that I have a debt because somebody signed an agreement with a foreign government before I was born, 3,000 miles away, because I was born on this patch of dirt, I got to say, that does not make sense to me. I don't got no contract with anybody. I didn't sign the deal. Why am I paying for that? You feel the same way?
Oh, totally. And for this new idiot to be running or trying to, or pretending to be the Prime Minister of Canada and doing the same thing of burying us deeper and deeper and deeper, I really want to be a refugee, because you get a free home, you get free meals, you get a free car,
right?
While the rest of us slave away and try and make a dollar.
Well, you know, Matt, maybe all of us Canadians will have to go and take over Syria or something, because they're all coming here.
Well, exactly. I have no problem with them coming here, no immigration whatsoever, but let's do it the proper way.
Let's do it the proper way. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? They're people.
Yes.
Just like we're people. I don't have a problem with Syrians. I don't have a problem with Muslims. But I'll tell you what, I got a big damn problem with criminals that want to come into my country and turn it into a third world hellhole. I just about said something that I shouldn't on the Genesis Communications Network, but I'm getting a little bit riled up here.
Yes.
Because we have an orderly society. We do. Well, we did. It's kind of fallen apart, but I tell you what, I mean, you know, Sheila Gunn Reid had that story on those immigrants getting in a fight with them boys in Red Deer just a little while back here. You know what? Those kids, both sides had a perceived slight. They fought it out, and I bet you they're going to be friends after. And those Syrians are going to respect those Red Deer, Alberta boys because they stood up for their own kind.
Oh, surely.
And they're going to end up being friends after. And I love hearing that, because that's the Alberta that I know. There are strong people in Alberta, in Saskatchewan.
Oh, without a doubt. I
mean, I'm telling you, Western Canada, there are some tough people here. And we love liberty. We love Canada. We love our neighbors to the south. I mean, I'll tell you what, I got more in common with your average guy from Montana than Ontario or Quebec.
Oh, very much.
To tell you the honest truth, like Alberta, give you an idea, we're kind of the Texas of Canada up here.
Oh, we are.
We are.
You know, I mean, we fight for our rights, we stand up for our rights, and we will not back down.
Absolutely. I've heard people in BC say, oh, great, another American from Alberta. I hear the music. Dirty Larry, thanks for coming on the show. You're deplorable, and we love you.
Thank you.
Everybody, have a great evening, all you deplorables. Thanks for listening to Americanuck Radio, everybody. We'll be back next Saturday. Take care.
Americanuck Radio.